Welcome, everybody, to Geek Dad Report's continual coverage of Season 8 of Game of Thrones. I'm Brian.
And I am the hopefully not going to die Ryan.
Well, great, you just telegraphed it, and so now you're dead. And tonight, we are going to be talking about all the people who foreshadowed their own deaths in a night in the Seven Kingdoms.
I think that was everybody.
There was, okay, so obviously, real quick, spoiler alert, we are going to be diving headfirst into all the goodness that was episode 2 of season 8 of Game of Thrones, A Night in the Seven Kingdoms, which had a kind of, it was a double entendre. It was spelled with a K, but it also was about one last night in Westeros. But, yeah, so anyway, we're going to be talking all about that. So if you have not seen the episode, I highly recommend you go watch it, then come back and check this out. If you have not watched it and you're like, oh, I don't think there'll be any spoilers, well, you'd be wrong, because we're going to spoil literally everything that happened in this episode, and so much happened. I don't know about you, Ryan, but I felt like this was one of the better episodes they've given us in a long time, that especially that did not involve any action. It was an amazing episode.
There's no fighting or anything going on, but this episode is 100% build up.
Oh, yeah. But I also got the feeling it was very much a part 2 of last week's Winterfell episode.
Yeah. Well, they had all the reunions last week, and this week is, they find out that they're all screwed. And what do you do?
I don't feel like they found out they were all screwed. I feel like they already knew they were screwed.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the acceptance that, like, this may be our last night on Earth. How are we going to spend it? And, there's been 8 seasons of these characters interacting in various ways. And I think one of the beautiful things...
in one place.
Last week a lot of people complained because, there was a lot of, hey, good to see you again, and fallout from that. But this episode was more about not just running into somebody for the first time, but really spending a quality few moments with these people that you've interacted with. And in some cases, they've saved your life or you've saved their lives. I loved at one point Tyrion sitting in Winterfell around there's a whole bunch of people sat around the fire, and they're sitting there talking, and he says, I think everybody in this room has either been tried to be killed by a Stark or tried to murder a Stark, and yet here we are.
And here we are in Winterfell.
He's like, and he looks at Jaime and he's like, I'm pretty sure Father would be laughing.
Yeah. That
our last night is going to be spent defending Winterfell.
Or when Tyrion, goes to meet Bran, and even Bran's like, oh, it's a long journey. Like, yes, if it was winter and we were in a castle and there's nothing to do.
Well, as usual, we have 7 different things we'd like to talk about, 7 different points of the show, because, to copy another podcast, 7 is the most important number in this universe.
We don't copy other podcasts, Brian.
No, just joking. I'll give a shout out to Binge Mode if anybody wants to watch a much more in-depth and really well done podcast about Game of Thrones, Harry Potter. I would recommend checking out Binge Mode. There you go. But yeah, so we got 7 points we want to hit on. Obviously, we're going to probably talk about more than that, but
we have our main 7.
And then at the end of this episode, we are going to dive headfirst into everyone we think is going to die next week. We're going to rank from safe to absolutely dead in our last segment on this show. So, but first, you want to dive in. You were talking about Bran and Jaime. Let's go ahead and just start there. I know it's a little bit out of the order you gave me, but this episode opened with Jaime. It ended last week with Bran waiting for Jaime.
Yes.
And then, I'm waiting for an old friend. And then it starts out with Jaime basically having to defend himself so Daenerys doesn't either light him on fire or feed him to his dragons.
Yeah, I like how they're just like, all right. So, they just skipped whatever niceties of him showing up, and they're just like, all right, here's the crap that's going to happen. And I really like that they did that they just got right to it.
Well, and I also did like that they didn't know, we've all gone on this journey with Jaime for 7 seasons, but everyone else has not. And I like how everyone else is ready to air their grievances against this guy. Everyone, they can kind of get along. They're like, I don't trust this guy, but whatever. We got to work together. We got to work together because the dead are coming. Jaime shows up and it was like, you know what? Fuck it. We don't care about the dead. This guy needs to die.
Yeah.
And everybody just starts laundry listing all the things that he's done to them.
Yeah, and where's the army that you guys are supposed to be bringing up here?
I do like that they hit on that immediately, and I do love that that Daenerys is no longer hiding her disdain for Tyrion, and like the fact that he's just racking up L's and he's just failing left and right.
Yeah, he has been very unsuccessful as of late.
So I don't know if they're, we'll talk more about Tyrion, whether he's safe or not next episode, but I don't know if the show's setting us up so that we're like, well, Tyrion is about to die for all the things he's done wrong. Or if they're setting him up for that, like, oh, I've gone on a cold streak, but game's on the line, I'm going to hit this three-pointer and win it all for everybody, right? I feel like that may be coming in his future, so, but I did like how, Jaime was sitting here, he's like, listen, I'm here because I swore an oath, and I'm an honorable man, and everyone basically scoffs at him and laughs at him.
Thing.
And I loved how it was such a great end to the story arc, no matter what happens going forward, with the payoff that Brienne of Tarth was the one person who stood for him when everybody was just about to murder him. She was like, he saved her and stood for her, and it was like that full circle, and now it's your time to return the favor. And I thought it was really powerful that she was the one who stood up for him, and basically everyone, except for Jon. Jon's just sitting here going, why are you people talking about any of this? We're about to be murdered by dead people.
Jon's he's like, I'm Aegon Targaryen. I got crap to figure out, guys.
Yeah, he's super angsty sitting there on the side, just like, I have time for none of this shit. What is wrong with all you people?
He's like, are you going to try and kill bad guys? Yes? Great. Thanks.
Part of me feels like watching this, trial of Jaime Lannister is everybody in the North just deserves to die. Like, guys, can we not settle our grievances after the 100,000 dead, march through here?
Yeah, they descend on your 2,000 people that you have sitting there or whatever it is.
Well, and and Daenerys and Sansa had that one moment where like, oh, we're on the same page here. And then Brienne stands up and Sansa immediately like, okay, I trust him. And Daenerys is like, ugh. And then she looks to her, her bae Jon. She's like, hey, buddy, you got my back on this? He's like, we need all the men we can get. She's like, fine.
He was very Ned Stark in that response.
Yeah. I love how he was like, I have no time for any of this nonsense. And then she's like, fine. And then Sansa immediately gets up and leaves. Jon immediately gets up and leaves. And Daenerys like, and she kind of walks out the front. I'm like, what is going on here? There's such this weird power struggle. You got Jon, who's the rightful heir to the throne. He knows it. Nobody else does yet. Daenerys, who thinks she's the heir to the throne, who's all regal and like, everyone should love me, but nobody here likes her. And then Sansa, who really wields the power in the North, is like, I ain't got time for any of you fuckers. I'm out.
Well, it's the North. They don't trust anybody. I mean, they don't have anyone to, But also, you're forgetting that during that scene, though, Bran also Bran hasn't really been talking to anybody. Yeah. But of course, when that's all going down, he says, and some people do things for love.
Oh no, he says the things we do for love, and Jaime kind of gives him the side eye, like, is this dude gonna rat me out? Because up to this point, no one actually knows for a fact that he was the one who pushed Bran out the window, right? Yeah. And I have a feeling that if Bran's like, yeah, he threw me out of a window, it's lights out for him. It's over.
That whatever Brienne had said, he would have got killed. No matter what. Well,
and then it leads to Jaime trying to apologize, and Bran's like, I don't care, I'm not Bran anymore. And Jaime's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not Bran. He's like, all right, dude.
I do kind of love this reoccurring theme where everyone tries to do their everyone does their little sidebars with each other, but every time anybody goes to Bran to try and make peace, he's just like, I'm not Bran, and they're all just like, you need to lay off that werewood, dude.
When you want to do something, I guess.
Yeah, you need to lay off the tree sap.
Jaime, he said that he was needed for this fight. So Jaime obviously he's going to do something in this fight that's going to have some kind of impact. So Bran, obviously doesn't say anything, but.
Yeah, what that is, we don't know. Next week is clearly the big week, the Battle of Winterfell. But like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit more. So. Getting back to, we were talking about Sansa kind of being the leader of the North here. I thought it was a really interesting conversation that her and Danny had, where Danny's realizing, like, I've got to make peace with her because she's a, I very much like that Danny.
Did we realize, or did Jorah tell her to do it?
I'm not really sure. Jorah had a lot of things where they cut away and didn't tell us what was going on, which we're not going to talk about Jorah till we get to the end here.
Gets Danny to concede on Tyrion,
yes.
Well,
I mean, she was ready to feed him to her. Well, okay, to be fair, Tyrion was ready. She was ready to feed Tyrion to her dragon, I think, about 5 minutes into this episode.
Yeah.
So I think if Jorah doesn't step in, Tyrion may not be long for this world.
Yeah.
I don't feel like when you. I don't feel like.
He turned around and he's like, one of you guys are going to be wearing my, wearing the hand thing.
He knew it. Well, and do you get the feeling like Daenerys doesn't retire her Hand of the King? She just, like, murders her Hand of the King and gives it to the next person. Like, can you pick up that hand of the Queen symbol from the ashes right there? Just go ahead and pin that on you. But yeah, Jorah only had a couple scenes in this. They were pretty big ones. One was, to your point, save Tyrion, and then I'm guessing because it led right into the Sansa scene. So I don't know. I'm gonna say that he did. I'm gonna say that he did say, "Listen, you got to talk to Sansa." I still think that he's talking to her about marrying Jon. Is what I think. I think that conversation.
You think like maybe that might be like a cut scene or something.
Yeah, I don't see why they would have cut away if it wasn't. If it was like talk to Sansa, they immediately cut to her talking to Sansa in the next scene. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's redundant. Maybe it's just a cut. But I don't know. Either way, Daenerys realizes like, okay, Sansa is a powerful woman. She's got this place on lockdown. I am just ramming my head against the door here. We got to do something. And I like how they at first they were real cold, but then they bonded over like the struggles of women in power and the things they've had to deal with, and the fact that Jon does love her and that she's up there. All she's ever wanted was the Iron Throne, and that she does love Jon too, and you get that confirmation.
But Sansa just cuts to the chase, and she's like, "Yeah, that's great. You love my brother. What about the North?" Yeah,
and then she's like, "Yeah, that's great." She's like,
"We're gonna need more. What's going on with us? Like, are you gonna let us do our own thing?
We're a sovereign nation now, and fuck you and your dragons. We're not giving it back, right?" And so Daenerys immediately is just like,
"Yeah, it's like."
Well, I will say this
foreshadowing, if there wasn't any, like,
God,
leave that whole thing hanging,
dude. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get into it more, but this episode could easily have been called "Foreshadowed." Because I think the thing that the first two episodes really did a great job of, if nothing else, besides the reunions and everything, was really showing us that, like, hey, win or lose this Battle of Winterfell, the real story here is still the Game of Thrones. Like, this is not going to end, like, even if they defeat the Night King next week, they're not all going to hug it out and be like, we overcame together, now let's get Cersei.
Yeah.
No.
These first two episodes have basically just been setting you up emotionally to just get you, like, so reinvested in everybody's story that now that episode 3 is coming and people are going to die. And it's like... It's like literally like messing with me, like in a way. Like,
and they gave us so many moments this week that just and last week, but especially this week, that just made you feel so good. Like for it, I mean, one of the big parts of this episode was what the episode was named after. Honestly, was the Night in the Seven Kingdoms. With the Night was about Bran. Bran finally gets knighted. She gets everything she's always wanted. Which is to be knighted. Women can't be knights in Westeros, and Jaime, I thought it was super touching and really great that Jaime was the one who knighted her, right?
Mm-hmm.
We get the scene where her and Davos and Tormund, first we get the Tormund Bane's Milk, where Giant's Bane, where you find out how he became his origin story, which is such a Tormund story.
And Davos just goes, I think I am going to start drinking now.
Yeah, I mean, he's got this fermented goat milk, and he tells a story about he killed a giant and then jumped in bed with his giant's wife, and then
giant teat for 3 months.
Sucked on her boob for 3 months, And that's how he got his name. And then he stares at everybody and then takes his milk and just downs the whole thing with milk like running down his shirt. And everyone's just staring at him like, what in the hell?
Yes.
Who is this guy, right? And I love how he keeps looking at Brienne. He's like, yeah. And she's just like, I don't know what to do with you, right? And then I loved how him and Jaime kind of got into a pissing match because Jaime's like, well, I think you should be a knight. And he's like, if I were the king, I would knight you 100 times. And then Jaime's like, oh yeah, well I am a knight. I can knight you.
Well, and then Jaime knights her, and Tormund's just like,
he's giving the slow clap, and he's just standing up and giving her a standing ovation. But but as fun as that scene was, all Brienne's ever really wanted in this entire show is to be recognized by her peers as an equal, right? Mm-hmm. Is not just a woman, not just a good fighter, but truly a knight, an equal amongst everyone that she's with, to be recognized as.
Oh, and everybody in the room, like, it's not done mockingly. It's not done in jest. It's not, done, just to, like, make her feel better. It's like everybody in the room knew that it was 100% serious, and it wasn't a joke. And
and I loved her reaction. She did such. Gwendolyn Christine was so good in this episode because she just thought, even like earlier in the episode, Jaime was talking to her and she's like, what's going on? You haven't mocked me not even once. Like, what do you want? And he's like, no, I respect you. I just want to fight with you. And she's like, I don't trust you, right? And so I loved it in this episode. With this part when she gets knighted, she still thinks everyone's screwing with her. Her natural defense is to just believe that nobody takes her seriously. And she looks around the room and she realizes there's all these men and warriors and Tyrion, like Tyrion and Davos, people who are very wise, and they are all looking at her and they're like dead serious. Like, you're like one of the greatest knights in the realm and you should be honored for that, right? And so the moment when Jaime knights her and she stands up and just smiles, like, I'm like, oh my god, it just melted. If you are watching this and that did not hit you right in the feelers,
yes. If you didn't even like crack a smile yourself, I mean, I did a little woohoo.
Well, I did too. Now I want to watch it again before this next week because I spent the whole week thinking Bronn was going to show up and shoot Brienne right when she stood up. So the whole time I'm like excited, but I'm like, oh no, it's somebody who's going to die. I really thought somebody was going to die this week, so I just kept waiting for the hammer to drop. But nobody died this week, and I'm glad that they actually gave it to us because. This episode is the gift. This is the one episode that we all got where nothing bad happened. So many people gave us what we wanted, and you left that episode just happy that like you got to see so much come full circle with these characters that you just, like I said, you're just happy. You're just like, yes.
Well, another, and like you said, coming full circle, with Arya and Gendry.
Oh, speaking of happy endings.
I mean, that's about as full circle as you can get.
Well, I mean, I think this has been teased for a while. Arya and Gendry, a lot of people had kind of hypothesized that these two could hook up eventually. I still think it was a little strange to actually see it happen. I mean, she's been kind of eyeballing him as he's been working that hammer for a little while now, but...
working that forge. Oh, yeah.
So, fun fact, apparently on the internet, the number one Google search immediately spiked. Traffic went through the roof about halfway through Game of Thrones episode. And guess what the number one search was on Google? How old is Maisie Williams?
What?
How old is Maisie Williams? Because everyone was in the same boat I think I was in. When I'm like, I'm looking at my wife, I'm like, she was like 11 when she started the show.
Yeah. It's like,
I am glad.
Like, yep, she's a woman now.
I didn't find the scene. Some people were really like outraged. I didn't find it outraged. It was a little strange because you grew up with this girl. Yeah, I am glad. Apparently, the showrunners went to Maisie Williams when they said, "Listen, these two are going to hook up. The scene will be as much or as little as you want. You have complete control to decide. We can do a kissy cutaway. We can do a full graphic scene if that's what you want. Whatever it is that you want." And so. What we saw was her choice. She was a little side boob, a little bit of butt. Her thing was like, everyone else on the show has done something. I can't just not make anyone do anything or do something. I can't not do anything when everyone else has done something. So she chose it, and honestly, I thought it was a lovely scene. I understood it. It made complete sense. You might die. I mean, you don't want to. If you have the opportunity and you think tonight's my last night, I don't want to die a virgin. I mean, that's a sentiment that I'm sure many of people have felt throughout the centuries.
What do you think about her double-bladed staff?
I thought her staff was great. Are we talking about Gendry, or are we talking about what are we talking about here?
Well,
yeah, no, I thought it was pretty badass. I liked it. I thought it's gonna be a perfect weapon. It kind of calls back to her days training with the waif. Oh God, I hate the waif.
And it seems like it comes apart or something like that.
I think it does. I think it's an attachable head.
It's like
so. But
so as she was playing with Gendry's staff,
the double-headed detachable head.
Ooh. I guess. I mean,
I don't know. Arya was scaring me. She's got all those blades, and she's really good at killing people.
Yeah. But I mean, that was a good scene, and and I like how Gendry is still somewhat innocent. I mean,
yeah, I did like the whole conversation about how many women have you slept with. He's like, loads, and she's like, I don't keep track. She's like, yes, you do. How many? I like how she called him out.
Like 1, 2, 20, and he's like 3.
I know. Well, I think I like the fact that it was almost like she wanted to know. She wanted to make sure that he had some experience. She didn't want her first time to just suck.
Yeah,
that's kind of the vibe I got from that whole interaction. I thought it was fun, and I also like that they were friends, and it's some people really felt awkward. I didn't feel awkward. I mean, obviously, like I said, we've grown up with Maisie Williams, so it's a little that part was a little strange, but I thought it was a good scene, and just it's another connection. It's another call to the fact that at the end of the day, this show's about people, right? And human connection, and it may be about dragons and magic and murder, but ultimately it's about people and their connections with other people and the things that we do to get through bad circumstances, right? And how we deal with those circumstances. And I felt it was perfectly natural that somebody has seen so much death, who would want some human interaction the night before, possibly she comes to her end, right?
I think that if they both somehow survive, I could see them like being together, and like him maybe actually like maybe getting the Stormlands or something like that. And
yeah, I mean he is the last technical Baratheon that we're aware of. So I mean, yeah, I mean, and more than that, yeah. To your point, yes, I think there could be. You definitely felt like there was more than just a one night stand between these two. These are people who've been through something together, who care about each other.
Or Arya's going to survive, but now she's going to be pregnant with his.
Yeah, we'll see. It could happen. I'm not ready to dive into who's pregnant on this show because there could be so many.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
There's lots of people who could be pregnant. So much of the sex that happens.
Yeah.
All right. What do you want to talk about next? So we talked a little bit about. On the list we got Podrick's song. So when they had the knighting ceremony, they felt like they should sing a song. Do you want to talk? I see in the notes. So did you want to talk about the song? Was it Jenny's gift or Jenny? Something about Jenny. I forget the name of the song.
It was On the Old Stones, like Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny Oldstone is what I think the name of the song is.
The first part of the verses was actually from the book. Mm-hmm. And I remember when he started singing it, like it did sound a little bit familiar. And then when I looked it up, that was actually all that they had. All they had in the book, like the first couple of lines.
Well, after the show, the showrunners Benioff and Weiss said that they created a whole song for this using the first line from the book. Apparently, this song is about Duncan,
the prince that will return or whatever.
Well, no, the song is apparently about Jenny. So Sir Duncan and Egg, Sir Duncan falls in love with a girl, Jenny Oldstone or whatever, and to be with her, he has to renounce his. He's next in line to be king, and so he has to renounce his claim to the throne so he can be with her. And so a lot of people, that's what the song's basically about. And so a lot of people are wondering if this is actually a clue as to what's going to happen.
I think so.
You think so?
And that's why else would they do that?
Well, okay, so I mean, that's true. The show never does anything without a reason, but that leads us into, our next thing here. Our next point is Jon and Daenerys storyline. In some ways, ends and also is
It's going like
massively.
John's storyline. I'm Danny's storyline.
So in your points in the songs, so one person has to give up their claim to be with the other person so they can be with them. You think that could be irrelevant? Basically, that means that either Jon or Daenerys is going to give up their claim, and at this point, I don't think either one of them are going to give up their claim to the throne.
Why would Jon want to? I mean, why is this like all of a sudden now? This is the sticking point for him, where he's like, you know what?
Okay, so obviously last week Jon found out who he was, Aegon the Sixth, or Aegon Targaryen, sixth of his name, and this week he reveals it to Dany. Now I know a lot of people have been criticizing the showrunners for doing it at this moment, like saying it's stupid to do it right before the battle. Why would you do that? I have a different take. I actually thought it was really well done. I mean, Jon could not look Dany in the eye. Clearly it was weighing on him. And then when she came down and kind of just unburdened herself on him a little bit, he's not a guy who's going to play coy. He's very much like Ned in that, he's way too much of his father's son.
He's just going to say what's on his mind.
He's just going to say, I thought that was completely in character for Jon. Even though Jon's got this battle and saying everybody should be focused, he absolutely cannot think of the bigger picture. He's going to completely just be like, bleh, here's the truth.
Yeah.
You're my aunt.
He's standing at his mother's crypt looking at her, and he knows that that's his mom,
So, okay, to answer your earlier question, why would Jon not give up his claim? I think his whole life has been about sacrifice and doing for the greater good. I think a couple things. One, I think Sam made a very compelling case. I think Jon is in love with Dany, but I think Jon also knows that Dany is a little bit crazy at times.
Yeah. Samwell, let him know about that she burned his dad and brother.
And if Jon legitimately thinks that he needs to be king to save everyone from Dany or from other tyrants, I absolutely could see Jon, not only that, he's had
if he had that kind of mindset going, he's 100% sold that he needs to be.
Well, and not just that, imagine your whole life you think you're nobody, and then all of a sudden you find out not only are you not nobody, your father was a good man, your mother was a noble woman, and together their love created you, and your whole life you had to be lied to because everyone wanted to kill you. Mm-hmm. At some point, you'd be like, I want to take this power and I want to break this thing. Like, Daenerys talked about breaking the wheel, but she doesn't really want to break the wheel. She wants to be queen and she just wants to restart the wheel. Yeah. I think if anybody in this show, if this show really is about breaking the wheel and breaking the Iron Throne, I can honestly, this episode made me think there's a scenario that if Jon lives, he gets on the Iron Throne and immediately has his dragon melt it. And he's just like, there is no more Iron Throne. Mm-hmm. Daenerys definitely not going to do that. Cersei's not going to do that. There is one person in this realm who would take power to the Iron Throne and then immediately disband it, and that's Jon. So if that's what this show is about, then Jon is going to win the Iron Throne and then immediately get rid of it.
And disband it how, though? Well, whatever.
That's for another episode. But, that was a really interesting... I think it was very telling listening to Dany. She didn't care about boning her nephew. I don't think either one of them that was the big talking point. But she immediately did not. I mean, the first thing she goes to isn't like, oh, we're related, or oh, your father was a good person, or oh, I'm glad my brother didn't rape your mother. It went to, wait a minute, this means you're in line for the Iron Throne.
Yeah, the exact thing. Like that makes you the living heir to the Iron Throne, and
I thought it was such a great. And I thought it was such a great contrast to the episode we got last week, where the camera panned right on Jon's face as Sam told him, and you could see like the pain and like the revelation and the anger because he'd been lied to and everything boiling up. At no point was it about like, oh sweet, I'm the king, right? Mm-hmm. And then I liked how they went immediately to they did the same exact but reverse, where now the camera's just panned on Dany's face, and Jon tells her his secret, and it turns into like, what? You're yeah. So I'm like this. I'm watching this scene, and I'm like, this is not spelling. Anybody who thinks Jon and Dany are gonna ride off into the sunset together is I'm starting to believe this show is going to end. The final episode is going to be, well, obviously it's not going to be called Dance with Dragons, but I think the final episode they have foreshadowed, and that's going to get us to our last point, foreshadowing here. We'll just go ahead and get into it. This show and this episode was so heavy in foreshadowing, but this show in general has been foreshadowing so many things over the seasons. And one of the things they kept talking about, if you rewatch it, every season they make sure you talk about it, the Dance with Dragons, about the dragon fights between the Targaryens and the dragon riders. And I think this show really may end with Jon and Dany fighting each other on top of dragons, right? I mean, this could end up being... I got the very strong sense that was what was going to happen with those two.
The one dragon's going to bond with Jon.
Yes. Dany's going to be like, to me, my children, and Rhaegal's going to be like, yeah, no, I'm with this guy. And him and Ghost are going to be riding the dragon together.
Yeah, the Ghost is going to be... The dragon will hold on to Ghost and then just, throw Ghost at people.
It'll be amazing.
If he shows up, I mean, we won't know.
Shout out to Ghost, who got about 1 second of screen time, which I was real angry that they just put Ghost into a frame, but don't actually have him and Jon hey, buddy, I haven't seen you in forever.
I didn't see. When was he?
Dude, there's a part where Jon's standing. I think it's Jon and Dany are standing at the wall. No, maybe it wasn't Dany. I think it was Jon and Sam and Ed. We're standing at the wall looking over, and it just showed Ghost in the background, just standing there with him, and that was it. That's all we got of Ghost.
See, that was one of the hard things for me with this episode. That
it was so dark
because of my vision. When there's a lot of dark scenes, I have a really hard time seeing everything that's going on. And this next episode is going to be a shitload of dark scenes. I'm just going to be completely
you might turn the brightness up on your TV. Turn off all the lights. So like I said, our last point here, foreshadowing. I think we got a lot of it with, especially with. It started with that Davos and Gilly. Well, I didn't start with them, but
yes,
I think that was
going to happen in the crypts.
Yeah, that was the moment I started thinking about the crypts. When then you find out so Gilly and Davos see this little girl that clearly reminds them of Shireen. Their connection with the little scarred girl who taught them both how to read and was meant so much to both of them. And she wanted to fight, and it was really a nice scene with this random girl I want to fight for my countrymen, and they're like, no, we need you to protect the people in the crypt, and she's like, okay, I'll do it. And then all of a sudden they keep talking about the crypt, about there's no safer place in the crypt. We're going to put all the people who can't fight in the crypt because you'll be safe in the crypt because the crypt is the safest place.
You're too smart. You're way too smart. You got to go down in the crypts.
Which is also wait a minute. The dead can raise the dead. Why would you want to be in a place trapped with a bunch of dead Starks that could be raised?
Well, Ned Stark is going to come back.
Yeah. I don't know exactly. I don't know if they're all going to raise, but there is definitely some foreshadowing about the crypt. If nothing happens, I'm going to be shocked.
Did Robb Stark ever get sent back to Winterfell?
Oh, God. Are we going to have a dude with a wolf head raise?
No, I think they probably did not send his...
I don't exactly see the phrase as the nice enough people who are going to send back his bones.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I definitely think there's going to be something, and we have a good collection of main characters that are going to be in the crypt, so we may lose a few of those people. But all right, so we're going to get to real quick before we get to our death list and people who were foreshadowed. Was there any other thing, not other than just character deaths, that you felt was really heavily foreshadowed in this episode?
I think Podrick is going to have something to do because, for the first time, we kind of got to see him leading people. Yeah,
that's a good one. Well, not just that, he actually was leading, and you found that the last time we saw him fight, he was not a competent knight. He looked very competent with a sword.
Yeah, yes, and I think there's definitely foreshadowing with the song that he was singing. So at least those are the two from Podrick that kind of came off the bat for me. Not really anything from Varys. And, the Hound, I mean, he kind of had his talk with Sansa. So, I mean, those are two characters where, Now there wasn't really a lot coming out.
Yeah, and I think we talked about most of them. I mean, Sansa Daenerys foreshadowing that is clearly not going to end well. But all right, so let's get to the heavy foreshadowing, and that was with the characters. So we had a lot of characters finishing story arcs that was noticeably like, oh, their story is over. That was heavily foreshadowed. There were some people who legit basically said, I'm 3 days away from retirement. So let's talk about those. So let's start with the people. Let's start with the people who we think are safest on this show. And we're not going to do every single character, but we'll get through kind of the main ones here to finish the show tonight. So these are people who we think are going to die next week. We're going to rank them in least likely, 50-50, and definitely dead, right? Absolutely dead. So let's go with least likely, or let's just say safe. I feel like there's about 4 characters who are 100% safe on this. One is Jon Snow. I didn't get any sense that this is Jon's last stand.
He's already been killed.
Yeah, he's already been killed. And not that he may not die again, but if he dies, it will be either the final episode. It will be the final episode. He is going to make it to the end, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, okay, so Jon, safe. We're going to skip all the people down in King's Landing because we didn't get anything from King's Landing this week. So, all right, Jon, safe. Next for me is Daenerys. I feel like even though Daenerys may not make it to the very end of this series, and I'm starting to think that she's going to die.
She's gonna die and become the Ice Queen.
I think she's gonna die, but I don't think she's gonna die this coming week. So I think in the Battle of Winterfell, I think Daenerys is safe. Sansa clearly has some story left. She's just gaining her power, and there's something left big with Sansa. So I think Sansa is absolutely safe.
What about the other? Let's just go through the Starks first. I mean, Arya.
So I'm gonna put Arya. I'm putting Arya at 50-50. I would like to say that she's gonna make it through, but I feel like her storyline is kind of over. She trained to be an assassin. Yeah. She's the Mistress of Death, and now she's
gonna be putting herself in the most dangerous positions.
Well, and she already, a lot was made about her list, but she's basically already turned away from her list. I mean, she turned away from her list when she made that choice to go to Winterfell. So
yes.
I don't know if this is the end for her, so I'm going to say 50-50. What do you think of Bran? I'm putting Bran at about...
I mean, when he revealed, that the Night King can basically just do a GPS locator on him whenever he wants to.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing about Bran. I think there's a legit chance that Bran dies. Now, if he becomes the Lord of Light, like possibly my theory, I think this is a good week that he might die, but come back in some form in the rest of the series. So, but I'm gonna put him at 50-50.
The Godswood is going to survive.
I think the Godswood is going to be lit on fire, and I think
that's what I would think. I'm thinking the Night King and his zombie dragon are going to burn down the whole.
So I did not remember. I kept telling you I couldn't figure out how Bran would become the Lord of Light. Just that somehow he'd be lit on fire and be transferred into light. Makes a lot more sense if he's on the weirwood tree while it's on fire.
Mm-hmm. And
then he can be connected. So I think... So I'm going to say 50-50 because I think he's going to come back. I absolutely think Bran is going to die. I think his physical body is going to die this next week, and I think his essence or spiritual body, I think there's more story for Bran going forward, but we'll keep him in the 50-50. The other person that I think is safe for this week is actually the Hound. I think
he's gonna fight his brother.
There was way too much foreshadowing. Speaking of foreshadowing, last season when he looked at the mountain, he says, "You know who's coming for you. You've always known who's coming for you." I think they'll find a way to make that happen. So I think the Hound is absolutely safe. That pretty much ends the people who I think are 100% safe. So let's get into the rest of the 50-50s. Jaime Lannister. I think his story, I put him in 50-50 because I think his story is complete, but I also think I could see his story with his sister being over, but I could also see him being the one killing her.
And you can see him going back down south and having to deal with Bronn.
Well, especially, Bronn is the one wild card. I think there's some characters that are gonna die, but they're not gonna die at the battle. They're gonna die in the after battle. I could see Brienne being killed by Bronn. I could see Tyrion being killed by Bronn. I could see Jaime being killed by Bronn. I think one of those core. I think there's a few characters that are intertwined. Jaime, Tyrion, Tormund, Bronn, and Podrick. I think Bronn is going to kill one of the big three between Jaime, Tyrion, or Brienne, and I still hold that I think Podrick's going to kill Bronn. I think that's what's going to happen. But I do think there's some poetry. Imagine this. So we know the little brother is going to kill the sister, right? The Valonqar. So what if Bronn kills Jaime? All right, and Podrick kills Bronn or whoever. Somebody kills Bronn, and Tyrion finds out that his sister sent him because he sees the crossbow, and then Tyrion is the one that goes back to King's Landing and kills Cersei, shoots her with the crossbow. Then you'd have a scenario where that crossbow has killed Jaime, Cersei, Tywin.
Yes. Should have killed Joffrey.
All by Joffrey's bow. So there is some symmetry to that too. So I can see that happening.
Or Tyrion gets what he wanted, and he gets killed, and then he goes back to King's Landing as a zombie and kills Cersei.
That was also some heavy foreshadowing. That would be pretty fun too. I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, but hey, whatever. But okay, so and that's why I'm going to go and just combine Tyrion and Jaime into that. Tyrion is in the crypt, which is definitely not the safest place to be.
Yes. He's 50-50.
So, yeah, definitely 50-50. Let's see, who else is 50-50?
Don't have high hopes for for Davos.
Davos, I'd put him in the 50-50. His story is complete, but, Gilly, same thing. Everyone in the crypt, I put it 50-50. Except for Varys. I think Varys is dead next week. I think Varys' story, they have not used him at all this season. I think his story comes to an end in the crypts.
Yeah, I think Varys is probably my only one that I put as I know he's going to die, other than Brienne.
So, I think there's a couple. All right, so let's get to definitely dead. Absolutely, 100% put your money on. Way too much foreshadowing. Dead. Number 1, Grey Worm.
Yes.
When him and Missandei talked about how he's going to take her to her home and they're going to sail on a beach. Dead. That is legit the 3 days away from retirement speech that the random cop gives before he's shot in a cop movie.
So those 2 guards from last episode, from last season that let Arya in, they're dead.
If they're in the show, they're dead. Brienne and Tarth, absolutely dead.
Yes, she hit her high point.
Do you need to know any more than the last episode was named after her? And she hit everything she wanted, and she smiled. And she's going to be on the front, leading the front lines against the dead. She's a goner.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100% dead.
It's going to be really sad and traumatic.
Oh, of course. Let's see. Who else? Who else do we... we got
Tormund.
Okay, Tormund 50-50. I would say dead, but he's the only wildling on this show, so I think he could make it a little bit longer. But if he's going to die, there's no way he's going down to King's Landing. So either he lives and stays up north, or he'll probably just die. You know what? I'm gonna put likely dead. Tormund.
Flaming sword guy. What's his name?
Okay, Beric, the Lightning Lord. He is 100% dead. Even the Hound was like, "You're still here."
Yeah.
When the Hound was like, no one cares about your speech and no one's here to bring you back to life.
Yeah. And if you keep talking, that Lord Light brought you back 15 times to watch me throw you over a fucking wall.
Over a fucking wall. He is absolutely dead. He's probably going to get thrown over a wall.
Wouldn't surprise me.
That'd be pretty fitting. Theon. Theon is 100% dead.
Yeah, Theon dead.
First of all, can I just say that battle strategy is the worst ever. Your most important piece, you're going to have the Ironborn and Theon protect. Get the fuck out of here with that. He is so dead. And I know they've tried to make this redemption. I know they've spent so much time trying to redeem Theon that I just don't even... When he dies, it's going to be like, whatever. Get out of here, Reek.
He tried.
He tried. Congratulations, you tried. And then, who else was there that was... I think it was somebody else. Jorah. Jorah Mormont. When Sam gave him the sword... I think not only is Jorah dead, I think Jorah is going to be changed to a White Walker.
You think so?
So here's my prediction. I think that in the Battle of Winterfell, things are going to go kind of good for them for a while, and I think they're going to get their one-on-one showdown with the Night King. I think somebody with a Valyrian steel sword is going to trying to challenge the Night King, and I think they're going to stab the Night King with it, but the Valyrian sword is going to shatter.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to find out that the Night King cannot be defeated with Valyrian steel or dragon glass. Because he was made with it, he is going to be invulnerable to it, is going to be my guess. So
he built up immunities over years of having that dragon glass inside his body.
Yeah, so I think there's a scenario where I think they went out of their way to make sure that, that Jorah got a Valyrian steel sword. Oh, here, I'm just going to give you this. So my guess is that he's going to be the one to find out. He's going to stab the Night King. The Night King is not going to die. And the Night King is going to turn him into a White Walker.
What about Gendry?
Gendry, I'll put him at 50-50.
Okay. I kind of had him leaning more toward dead.
Well, to me, we don't know if his story's completed or not. That's why I don't know. That's why I'm at 50-50. Does he have more? True. Does he have more? Was he just brought in because, whatever, they liked him in the first few seasons? Nobody knows, because in the books, he's still rowing a boat around Westeros.
Yeah.
So
he's still hanging out.
Here's the problem. We don't know how important of a character he really is. So that's why I put him in 50-50. If he dies, I wouldn't be shocked, but Okay, so that's all the main characters, I believe. I think we hit on everybody. How about Lady Mormont? I think she's going to live. She's too badass to die.
Yeah, she'll live.
Okay, so I don't think we're going to lose. I mean, we're going to lose 5 or 6 big characters. I think Brienne is going to be the really big character that we lose next week. I think people are going to be openly weeping on the internet for Brienne of Tarth next week. Animals. Are we going to lose Ghost or either of the dragons?
I think.
Or how about any of the dragons, including?
Dragon.
So you think one of the living, or do you think they're going to defeat the?
I think they're going to defeat the undead dragon, but they're going to lose one of the dragons in the process.
I don't think so, because I really do believe Jon and Dany are going to have a dragon fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say they are going to defeat the Night King's dragon. Oh God, I think we might lose Ghost. I don't want to lose Ghost, but I think Ghost might die.
They don't have the investment in Ghost.
Yeah, I know. That's what's frustrating. How badass would it be to see Jon sitting in the Iron Throne with Ghost and his dragon hanging out?
Yeah.
But because I do believe there's more with Jon and Rhaegal, I think Ghost is dead.
What about Arya's direwolf?
Nymeria will never be seen again on the show. I've never seen a show so much where they have important animals that they just don't even show anymore. It's like,
mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We'll see. I hope all the animals live. We've already lost so many of them, but
yeah, we'll find out.
All right. Well, there we go. That's kind of our thoughts on a night in the Seven Kingdoms, and honestly our predictions for the Battle of Winterfell, which is going to be the monster episode this week.
Yes.
Anything else? Anything else you want to talk about? Any other points on this episode?
I am hating the wait. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I didn't even sleep Sunday night. I enjoyed the episode so much, but it was almost like a double-edged sword. It was like, oh my God, this is so great. And to what you said earlier, this episode reminded you why you love this show and these characters so much, and it only reminded you of that because it wants to rip your guts out. This is like the episode before the Red Wedding, all of us finding out that Rob was going to have a baby. He's so happy.
Woo.
He's so happy.
No. Yeah, that's exactly what it says. It's just the gut-wrenching weight that we know that
oh, it's going to be bad.
People that you've been invested in are going to die.
It is going to be awesome, and it's going to be terrible. The only hope I have is George R. R. Martin says it's not a happy ending, it's not a sad ending, it's a fitting ending, which means absolutely nothing. Which means which means the dead could literally just run through roughshod, and the Iron Islands are the only thing that survive.
It's going to be a very There's going to be a lot of people talking on Monday morning.
All I can say is we may never see a show like this in our lifetime. Enjoy the last 4 episodes and all the carnage, and we will all cry. We will all weep together openly next week. You know, between I just realized between Avengers Endgame, which we're probably going to lose, like Captain America and Iron Man, and which that's not a spoiler. I have not seen it, so don't be like, Brent, I don't know. I'm just hypothetically saying. And with the people we're probably going to lose in this episode, like, I think everybody might just call it
an emotional weekend for a lot of nerds.
It's going to be bad. Oh, well, whatever. Anyway, I'm excited. I can't wait. So
we will be here to help you get through it.
We will talk it all out together. If it's as emotionally draining as we think it might be, maybe we'll do an earlier episode of the week. We'll see. But hit us up on Facebook or Twitter if you want to talk about it. We will be watching, and we'll be here. We'll be here to have your shoulder cry on. I'm glad, Ryan, that you're always my shoulder I can cry on.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of tear emojis.
So, all right. Well, on that note, thank you for joining us, and go team Stark Targaryen.
Yeah.
Woo! All right. Well, until next week, until the carnage that is the Battle of Winterfell. God, I'm tired. Everybody, stay awesome.
And stay nerdy, everybody.
And don't touch the dead people. Don't do it. They'll freeze you, and then they'll eat you.
Yeah.
And definitely don't hide out in the crypt.
Yeah. And definitely don't kill a giant and then suck on his wife's teeth for 3 months.
Words to live by, everybody. Until next time. Later.
Bye.